Good morning, Darla realtor in South Louisiana. What a gorgeous day it is this morning. I'm on my way to lots of appointments. For me, those of you who listen to me often know that anything real estate related just lights my fire, just gets me excited. I'm actually on my way today to a training called Code of Ethics. But that has nothing to do with what the topic is today. You know, I do lots of videos. In fact, I try to do them daily, Monday through Friday. Not so much on the weekends, but Monday through Friday I try to do daily videos for y'all just to educate you, because my previous life I was an educator. I love educating people. I love teaching. It's my passion. But listen, it's not easy to always think about a relevant topic that I haven't touched base on before. And for those of you who know me, I know you know my story. You know that I have dealt with lots and lots and lots of adversity over my life. But those of you who do not know me may look at me and go, wow, you know, she's successful. She probably had an easy life. She probably didn't have to work too hard for anything and all the things. Well, listen, that is absolutely the furthest thing from the truth. My mom divorced my dad when I was 6.5, and life after that was absolutely just not good. It wasn't fun. In fact, most days were just absolute downright miserable. But it made me into the woman I am today, and I absolutely have no regrets of anything that ever happened to me growing up. But I was thinking this morning as I was getting dressed, what am I going to talk about today on my video? And I remember thinking, my dad passed away at the age of 44 of a massive heart attack. But what I remember thinking this morning was he owned his own home. He absolutely owned his own home. And so when he was first married, he got married right out of high school, only stayed married probably less than a year, and they got divorced, but then married my mom, and they were married for 13 years. They built a house together. When they got divorced, my mom was not working. She didn't have a job, so there was no way she could buy out my dad. So he got the house, and then he kept the house for the rest of his life until he passed away at the age of 44. But listen, the crazy thing I was just thinking this morning was that he was married 5 total times, possibly 6, 5 that I can confirm, before he died of a massive heart attack at 44. And what I remember thinking is, after my mom, the 3 people that he married after that were probably in their 30s, maybe 40s. They always moved in to his house. So think about that for a minute. Who had the upper hand? Who had the advantage? You move into to someone else's home, even if you get married. If they owned that home before you married them, that home is not yours. It's theirs. It was theirs before they got married. So these ladies in their 30s, 40s, and I just had this epiphany this morning because I never really thought about it, didn't own their own home. I remember they all rented. And then when they got married, they moved into my dad's home. He had the upper hand. Is that why he was married so many times before the age of 44 when he passed away? Maybe. I don't know, because I didn't live with him. We only went visit him every other weekend. But I just remember getting there, and every weekend when we get there, sometimes we would say, where's so-and-so? And he'd say, oh, well, we're getting a divorce. Then he'd marry the next one, you know, in a couple of, and he was divorced. He was divorced. But the point is, I remember, as mean as the devil as my mother was growing up, she did teach me a few things. She taught me, I remember her from the time I was very, very, very little. She expected me to make absolutely the best grades in school. And she always would say, set yourself up for independence. Educate yourself, get a degree, get a job, and don't ever be dependent on anyone else. Do not ever do it. And I remember thinking that. So fast forward, when I was 19, my dad died of a massive heart attack. I was a full-time student in college living with him. We didn't know, but he had remortgaged the home, which meant that we had to sell the home. So I was 19, my brother was 17, my sister was 15. We had all moved in with him later later in the years when we were older teenagers. In fact, at that time, he actually wasn't even married, which is crazy. Wasn't married, died of a massive heart attack. So we three are then what? His house has to be sold because he has a mortgage on it. We can't pay the mortgage. We can't pay the house note. We three are absolutely homeless. So I'm 19. I moved to Lake Charles, get an apartment, paying for the rent with a Discover card because that is the only way I could afford to pay for it. But I was determined not to quit college, and I sure didn't have the money to buy a home of my own. I was 19. The craziest thing is, I remember thinking this morning, that probably about 6 months before my dad died, out of the blue one day, he said to me, now granted I'm 18 at the time, he says to me, if I ever die and you need any money for any reason, you go to the American Bank in Jennings, because I'm great friends with the president of that bank, and you tell him what you need. So fast forward, I had moved to Lake Charles. I was paying rent on an apartment. It was expensive. I could barely afford it. And I remember that conversation. And I remember thinking, the amount of money that I'm throwing away each month on this apartment, maybe, just maybe, I can buy a little trailer and I can then take out a loan. And I just remember having these thoughts. So I go to the bank thinking there's no way in hell this guy's giving me a loan for a house, because I'm working at that point. I'm full-time college student at McNeese, and I'm working at a little hotel as the desk clerk, making minimum wage. So I go meet with him and I say, listen, my dad was Taryn Gott. He passed away a few months ago. I remember having this conversation with him. He said to me, if I never need anything, to come meet with you. I am paying $600 a month on rent. That's what it was back in 1994. For a one-bedroom apartment in Lake Charles. Can you help me buy a mobile home of some sort? He says to me, absolutely. Go find a mobile home, tell me how much it costs, and I'm going to help you get a loan. So I start looking in the quick quarter, the good old-fashioned quick quarter, which was printed back in those days, and found an adorable two-bedroom, two-bath mobile home set up in a nice trailer park in Scott, Louisiana. Isn't that crazy? So I remember going back and meet with him and running the numbers and everything. The note on that mobile home for 30 years was $150. And the rent in the mobile home trailer park at that time was like $50 or $60. So I was paying for something that I then was going to own, a third of the price of what the apartment rent was in Lake Charles at the time. But it was mine. It was absolutely mine. And it's so crazy. Now, I was just thinking about this morning that all those ladies moved in with my dad, and at the age of 30, 40 years old, still did not own their own place, and were basically at the mercy of this man, my dad, who could at any moment say, listen, pack your stuff and leave, because this is not yours. You do not own it, right? So my point is this: if you think that there's a way that you can buy your own home, but you're just not quite sure, and you just want to pick my brain and tell me your situation, listen, I'd love to help you. I've helped quite a few single ladies who didn't believe that they could buy their own place. But guess what? There is a will, there is a way every single time. And if you're paying a significant amount of rent anywhere, the likelihood is that you probably could find a home that is about the same as your monthly rent as a house mortgage. Now listen, it may not be some big old fancy house in a fancy neighborhood, but it would still be yours. It would absolutely be yours. And so you're not in a situation where, if you're living with someone and you don't want to be in that situation, that you're having to put up with things that you don't want to because you feel like you're having to. And I'm telling you, I didn't think about that situation and those women until just this morning when I was getting dressed. And I remember thinking, probably one reason why he got divorced so many times before the age of 44 is because these women moved into his house. I know that he had a bad drinking problem. I know that he had a bad temper. Did they leave Did he throw them out? I don't know. I do not know the whole situation. But I do know that they owned nothing when they left. They owned nothing. Probably didn't even own the vehicle, because my dad probably helped pay for the vehicle because he had a very good job. That's a sad situation. When you're living in a situation that you don't want to be in, but you feel like there is no other way out, you probably put up with a whole lot more crap than you would ordinarily. So, if you have been employed in the same job for at least 2 years, or you've moved jobs because you've gotten a promotion, that's okay too. If your credit is fair, listen, I've helped people buy houses with credit that is awful. So, don't count yourself out because you think that your credit's too bad, because there are all kinds of loans available for all kinds of people in all different kinds of situations. And all you can do is try. So if you're in a situation where you are either unsafe, or you are unhappy, or you just feel like you just need some independence, give me a call. Listen, there's a way. And even if for some reason you can't do it right now, I work with amazing lenders who are going to help you come up with a game plan. And they're going to say, listen, okay, so you're qualified right now for this amount, but if you want more, or you're not qualified right now, but you need to do this, this, and this, they're going to come up with a game plan and say, listen, if you do this, this, and this, you're qualified for this amount right now, but if you do this, this, and this, in maybe 2, 3, 4 months, you can then be qualified for this amount, or this, or this, or this. There's always absolutely a way. You need the willpower, you need the motivation, and you need the, well, I guess just the guts, right? Just the guts to just give it a try if that's what you need to do. So if you're in a situation where you feel like I want my own place, or listen, if you need to sell your place, I absolutely love to deal with sellers. I do it every day. In fact, I have lots of things about to hit the market. So if you're a potential buyer and you're looking for something, be on the lookout, because lots of great things are hitting the market very, very, very soon. But just remember this, especially if you're in a very unhappy situation, or if you're in an unsafe situation, don't count yourself out and don't think that there's not a way. Because there's always a way if you're motivated, right? And if you have good intentions. So give me a call. Remember, there are absolutely no stupid questions. None. Believe me, I've only been in real estate 5 years, but that first year, I easily probably asked a million questions because there was so much to learn, and the only way you know is if you ask. So just ask the questions. There are no stupid questions, absolutely none. Y'all enjoy this gorgeous day. Again, if you're a seller or a buyer, I'd love to have a conversation with you. If you're not quite ready and you just have questions before you even decide on what you want to do, give me a call and let's talk, okay? If I don't answer, it's because I'm in a training, and I will get back to you. I guarantee you I'll get back to you.